Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tanola Covers. As you already know by now, my name is Tanola, and if you didn't, I hope now you already do. Again, please tell your friends and everyone you know about this channel. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And YouTube tells me that 56% of my watchers haven't subscribed to my channel, and I wonder why that is. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, comment your favorite part, and if you want a part 2, do tell me that as well. Today we will be diving into the cute little world of creepypasta. It's very cold. It's getting very cold in South Africa. I was thinking to myself, asking myself, what would be some of the best ways to warm up some of the people who watch the videos on my channel? And I thought, oh, very easy. Let's try to scare them. I love creepypasta so much. If you don't know what that is, creepypasta is basically scary Italian spaghetti.
What?
No, I'm kidding. It's not. Creepypasta stories, as they are known on the internet, are short web-based stories that serve to scare the reader. That's basically what they are. They're like horror movies but in text form. These used to scare me so much growing up. I used to be so obsessed with creepypasta stories, especially around when I was 12 to 15, 16. I remember when load shedding would hit, I always had an app. From that app, I had lots of different stories. I don't think I even finished those stories. I think they would get updated often. There was a lot of stories, from stories about humanoid creatures, paranormal creatures, animals that were not normal animals. I remember reading this specific story about a bear. These group of people went camping and they encountered what they thought was a bear, except the bear was hairless, and it started hunting them one by one. And it was so scary because, like, in my mind, everything is so vivid, and mind you, it's dark, it's load shedding, so it's only you and your thoughts in your room. So your mind can conjure up a lot of interesting shapes and figures in the dark when you're alone and you don't have a roommate. Then you have to sleep alone, and it's June and it's winter and you're all alone, and it's stage 5 load shedding and as far as I know about creepypasta, you can literally write about anything and anyone anywhere. It just has to be a creepy story. Now, some of my top personal favorites were Slenderman. I remember Slenderman was one of the very first stories that I started reading when I was like 13, and it scared the hell out of me. So imagine my excitement when I found out that a Slenderman movie was coming out. Now imagine my disappointment when I watched that movie. Anyway, that's so Jeff the Killer is also one of my favorites. Now, if you don't know Slenderman, he's supposed to be this humanoid creature who is always wearing a suit, a very formal black tie suit, except that he's not human and he's very long and skinny, like 7 feet tall, very thin as well. He usually appears in the distance. I don't think anyone has ever seen him very close. If you do see him in range, chances are you're not gonna survive, and that is your last day on Earth with us. Either that or you'll just disappear without a trace. A lot of people disappear without a trace after seeing Slenderman. According to the stories, remember, this is not true stories, these are fake. One of my favorites as well was Jeff the Killer. Now, Jeff the Killer has a very interesting origin story. I don't really remember the specifics of his origin story. I just remember that I think he was bullied a lot, and one day he just snapped and got the urge to kill people. He carved with a knife a smile across his face so that it would always look like he's smiling and his teeth would be visible, and I think slits across his eyes as well, if I'm not mistaken, and bleach fell on his face as he was doing that, so it burnt off his eyelids. So now he doesn't blink, and his eyes are always open. So if he's hiding in the dark, you'd be able to just see the whites of his eyes, and his teeth. So that was very creepy. And he would always hunt children. I think he started by hunting the people who bullied him, and then he started like hunting random children. So very interesting, very interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I'm thinking about starting with Jeff the Killer, just for the hell of it. I actually want to read his origin story. Okay, I found a little overview serving as a little synopsis and background for who Jeff the Killer really is. It reads, for those wanting a quick overview, the story of Jeff the Killer, goes something like this. At 13 years old, Jeffrey Allen Woods, or Jeff C. Hodek, crazy, depending upon who you ask, but more on that later, moves with his parents and brother Louis to a new town. Here, Jeff and his sibling encounter 3 bullies and are threatened with knives. Jeff beats these bullies badly, but Louis takes the blame for the assault and being carted off by the ever-reliable police. Sarcasm. Guilt-ridden and depressed at having let Louis take the blame for his actions, how old is he? Because if he's 13, how old is his younger brother? Did the police just take like a 7-year-old to jail? That's crazy. That's crazy. Also, I think if he's 7, like, did your parents believe that you beat up bullies that had a knife? Okay, let me not poke holes. Guilt-ridden and depressed at having let Louis take the blame for his actions, Jeff's day gets even worse when he meets the bullies again and is horribly burnt in an attack with alcohol and bleach. The burning results in Jeff being permanently disfigured, his skin bleached white physically while his mind snaps. Upon being discharged for some reason, his doctors apparently attributing Jeff's insane behavior to the painkillers he's taking, Jeff arrives home and proceeds to make a bad decision worse by purposefully mutilating his already disfigured face, cutting a permanent smile into his mouth and cheeks, and burning his eyelids so that he can always see his face. Insane. Jeff then goes on to kill both his parents and his brother Louis, meeting him with the instruction go to sleep before stabbing him and disappearing with a wider and less discriminating killing spree, which it would seem continues to this day. Fun! That is so fun. But I don't just want like a killer. I feel like when it comes to serial killers, like, fine, he has a knife, he kills, we get it. He might be creative in his kills, but I want something bone-chilling. I want something abnormal, something we have never seen before, something that cannot be explained. A creepypasta, if you will.
What?
That was a bad joke. The Russian sleep experiment. I don't think I like that. There's so many. Let's just go to the Russian sleep experiment. Now reading. Russian sleep experiment. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an now I can't read. Russian researchers in the late 1940s kept 5 people awake for 15 days using an experimental gas-based stimulant. They were kept in a sealed environment to carefully monitor their oxygen intake so the gas doesn't kill them, since it was toxic in high concentrations. This was before closed-circuit cameras, so they had only microphones and 5-inch thick glass porthole-sized windows into the chamber to monitor them. That sounds inhumane. The chamber was stocked with books and cots to sleep on, but no bedding. That's crazy, why not? As well as running water, a toilet, and enough dried food to last all 5 for over a month. The test subjects were political prisoners deemed enemies of the state during World War II. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. The subjects hardly complained, having been promised falsely that they would be freed if they submitted to the test and did not sleep for 30 days. That's crazy. Their conversations and activities were monitored, and it was noted that they continued to talk about increasingly traumatic incidents in their past. The general tone of their conversations took a darker aspect after the 4-day mark. After 5 days, they started to complain about the circumstances and events that led them to where they were, and started to demonstrate severe paranoia. They stopped talking to each other and began alternately whispering into the microphones and one-way mirrored portholes. Oddly, they all seemed to think they could win the trust of the experimenters by turning over their comrades, the other subjects, in captivity with them. At first, the researchers suspected this was an effect of the gas itself. After 9 days, the first of them started screaming. He ran the length of a chamber repeatedly, yelling at the top of his lungs for 3 hours straight, at which point he continued attempting to scream but was only able to produce occasional squeaks. The researchers postulated that he had physically torn his vocal cords, and they still kept them in there. The most surprising thing about this behavior was how the other captives reacted to it, or rather didn't react to it. They continued whispering into the microphones until the second of the captives started to scream. The two non-screaming captives took the books apart, smeared page after page, and pasted them, over the glass potholes. They started screaming promptly. The screaming promptly stopped. So did the whispering into the microphones. After 3 more days passed, the researchers checked the microphones hourly to make sure they were working, since they thought it was impossible that no sound could be occurring with 5 people inside. The oxygen consumption in the chamber indicated that all 5 must still be alive. In fact, it was the amount of oxygen 5 people would consume at a very heavy level of strenuous exercise. On the morning of the 14th day, that's insane, the researchers did something they said they would not do to get a reaction from the captives. They used the intercom inside the chamber, hoping to provoke any response from the people they were afraid were either dead or vegetables. That's crazy. They announced, "We are opening the chamber to test the microphones. Step away from the door and lie flat on the floor or you will be shot. Compliance will earn one of you your immediate freedom." 1. To their surprise, they heard a calm voice respond in a single phrase, "We no longer want to be freed." Insane. Wait, they're eating each other. There's no way they haven't resorted to cannibalism. I know there's like dried foods in there, but I think cannibalism has already occurred by this. Debate broke out among the researchers and the military forces funding the research. Unable to provoke any more response using the intercom, it was finally decided to open the chamber at midnight on the 15th day. The chamber was flushed of the stimulant gas and filled with fresh air, and immediately voices from the microphone began to object. 3 different voices began begging, as if pleading for the life of loved ones, to turn the gas back on. The chamber was opened and soldiers were sent in to retrieve the test subjects. They began to scream louder than ever, and so did the soldiers when they saw what was inside. 4 of the 5 subjects were still alive, although no one could rightly call the state of any of them in life. The food rations past 5 days had not been so much as touched. I knew it. I called it. There were chunks of meat from the dead test subjects' thighs and chest stuffed into the drain in the center of the chamber, blocking it and allowing 4 inches of water to accumulate the floor. What? Precisely how much of the water was on the floor was actually blood. Okay, it was never determined. All 4 surviving test subjects also had large portions of muscle and skin torn away from their bodies. The destruction of flesh and exposed bone on their fingertips indicated that the wounds were inflicted by hand, not with teeth, as the researchers initially thought. What was in that gas? Closer examination of the position and angles of the wounds inflicted that most, if not all of them, were self-inflicted. The abdominal organs below the rib cage of all 4 test subjects had been removed, while the heart, lungs, and diaphragm remained in place. The skin of most of the muscles attached to the ribs had been ripped off, exposing the lungs to the rib cage. What? All the blood vessels and organs remained intact, but had been taken out and laid on the floor, fanning out around the eviscerated but still living bodies of the subjects. What? The digestive tract of all 4 could be seen to be working, digesting food. It quickly became apparent that what they were digesting was their own flesh that they had ripped off and eaten over the course of days. Most of the soldiers were Russian special operatives at the facility, but still, many refused to return to the chamber to remove the test subjects. The subjects themselves continued to scream to be left in the chamber and begged and demanded that the gas be turned back on, lest they fall asleep. So everyone's surprised, the test subjects put up a fierce fight in the process of being removed from the chamber. One of the Russian soldiers died from having his throat ripped up, and another was gravely injured by an artery in his leg severed by one of the test subjects' teeth. Another 5 of the soldiers lost their lives, if you count the ones that committed suicide in the weeks following the incident. In the struggle, one of the 4 living subjects had his spleen ruptured and bled out almost immediately. The medical researchers attempted to sedate him, but this proved impossible. He was injected with more than 10 times the human dose of a morphine derivative and still fought like a cornered animal, breaking the ribs and arm of one doctor. His heart was seen to beat for a full 2 minutes after he bled out, to the point there was more air in his vascular system than blood. Even after it stopped, he continued to scream and flail for another 3 minutes. I feel sick, what the hell? Struggling to attack anyone in reach and just repeating the word more over and over, weaker and weaker, until he finally fell silent. The surviving 3 test subjects were heavily restrained and moved to a medical facility. The 2 with intact vocal cords continued begging for the gas, demanding to be kept awake. The most injured of the 3 was taken to the only surgical operating room that the facility had. In the process of preparing the subject to have his organ placed back in his body, it was found that he was effectively immune to the sedative they had given him to prepare him for surgery. He fought furiously against his restraints when an anesthetic gas was brought out to put him under. He managed to tear most of the way through a 4-inch wide leather strap on one wrist, even through the weight of a 200-pound soldier holding that wrist. It took only a little more anesthetic than normal to put him under, and the instant his eyelids fluttered and closed, his heart stopped. Oh, interesting. In the autopsy of the test subject that died on the operating table, it was found that his blood had tripled the normal level of oxygen. The muscles that were still attached to his skeleton were badly torn. He had broken 9 bones and had struggled to not be subdued. Most of them were from the force his own muscles had exerted on them. The second survivor had been the first of the group of 5 to start screaming. His vocal cords destroyed, he was unable to beg or object to surgery, and he only rejected by shaking his head violently in disapproval when the anesthetic gas was brought near him. He shook his head yes when someone suggested, reluctantly, that they should try the surgery without anesthetic. Ew. And did not react to the entire 6-hour procedure of placing his abdominal... Hey guys, the story. When the surgery ended, the subject looked at the surgeon and began to wheeze loudly, attempting to talk while struggling. Assuming this must be something of drastic importance, the surgeon had a pen and pad fetched so that the patient could write his message. It was simple. Oh! I don't know if I want to continue reading this. Like, fine, we get it. Let's go to the conclusion. Ew. Ew. Oh, I know this picture. I thought this was a Halloween like decoration or like some sort of doll. I didn't think it was okay. The only remaining subject that could speak started screaming to be sealed in now. His brainwaves showed the same flat lines as the one who had just died from falling asleep. The commander gave the order to seal the chamber with both subjects inside as well as 3 researchers. Insane. One of the named 3 immediately drew his gun and shot the commander point blank between the eyes. Because like why would you? Then turned the gun on the mute subject and blew his brains out as well. Because why would you suggest that? That's insane. He pointed the gun at the remaining subject, still restrained to a bed, as the remaining members of the medical and research team fled the room. I won't be locked in there with these things, not with you. He screamed at the man, strapped to the table. What are you? He demanded. I must know. I must know. What are you? The subject smiled. Have you forgotten so easily? The subject asked. We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your plans of benign. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go to the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread. Oh, it's sort of like the subconscious. Like something within you that like you inhibit as a normal human being, like to not let out. So that's what... The researcher paused and aimed the subject and fired. The EEG flatlined as the subject quickly choked out. So nearly free. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. Even if you didn't enjoy the video, please leave a like. Just be nice to me. Just leave a like once in your life. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tell everyone you know about it. Tell them I was covering creepypasta today, and if they ask what creepypasta is, just tell them it's a new recipe of scary Italian spaghetti. I will see you next time. Be safe. Bye.